And it's time now for the latest business news with Stephen Carroll. Hello, Stephen.
Hi,
It's
Nat.
been a while, hasn't it?
It has. Lovely to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you too. And you're starting with the bumper financial results for the video calling app Zoom. I think one of the very few companies that's done well out of this pandemic.
Something that before all of this, of course, very few of us had heard of, and now it's become this sort of essential part of our life. It's one of the services that saw exponential growth during the pandemic because Zoom calls became so ubiquitous. Now, while many individual users don't pay for Zoom, bigger companies or schools that have taken out paid subscriptions contributing to the overall financial results, and it's had an eye-watering impact on what's happened to their results. These figures cover the period from May until July. Compared to a year ago, Zoom saw its number of paying customers, this is in companies of more than 10 people, increase by over 450%, so 370,000 people now paying for Zoom. Companies' revenues up over 300%, and profits went from $5.5 million for this period last year to $186 million this year, a staggering increase of over 3,000%. Now, this growth building on what we saw in the previous few months. It seems that many people have of course, continued to pay for Zoom, offsetting some of the investor fears that people might just cancel their subscriptions when the economy opened up again. Now, moving on to Argentina, which has avoided another debt crisis after its creditors overwhelmingly backed a $65 billion restructuring deal. It's a welcome relief for the country, which has been in recession since 2018. Catherine Viette reports.
A sigh of relief from government officials after a deal to avoid a debt default was approved. Argentina announcing agreement from 99% of its creditors to restructure $65 billion in a bond exchange.
Argentina tendrá un alivio de la deuda en la próxima década de 37.700 millones de dólares y la tasa de interés promedio baja del 7% al 3,07.
The deal will allow creditors to swap their old bonds for new ones. It also extends the repayment period, a move that will see the creditors get back around 55 cents from every dollar they're owed. This concludes a 9-month-long negotiation process that saw the government threaten to pull out at the last minute. But Argentina's not out of the woods yet. Its total debt is over $320 billion, and the country is in its third year of recession. The coronavirus pandemic has only made the situation worse, as officials imposed a lockdown that helped curb the spread of the virus, but also hurt vast sectors of the economy.
Arreglar la deuda era condición necesaria, no necesariamente, no condición suficiente. Atrás del arreglo de la deuda, necesitas sentarte a negociar con el Fondo Monetario.
The IMF has already lent Argentina $44 billion as part of a record $57 billion bailout agreed to with the previous government in 2018. The IMF will likely seek big reforms, but with the current administration firmly anti-austerity, it looks like tough talks ahead.
Prosecutors in South Korea have charged the vice chairman of Samsung with fraud. J.Y. Lee is accused of manipulating shares and breach of trust over the merger of two of the group's affiliates in 2015. 10 other current and former executives are also facing charges over the deal, which helped Lee to gain greater control over the group's crown jewel, Samsung Electronics. Now, he hasn't been detained, but the charges pave the way for a future trial. Facebook has threatened to stop news articles from being shared by Australian users because of a proposal to charge digital giants royalties there. The social network says the legislation is unprecedented and will damage news organisations. Google and Facebook have been lobbying heavily against the new rules, which are being drawn up by Australia's competition regulator after public consultation. They would see the tech firms pay publishers for articles shared on their sites. Now, like elsewhere in the world, Australian media organisations have lost significant amount of advertising revenue to these tech companies. Let's take a quick check on what's happening in the markets next for you. A mixed picture on European shares this lunchtime. London's FTSE 100 down over 1% a short time ago. Small gains, though, in Paris and in Frankfurt. Lots of economic data for investors to chew over at the moment. New surveys showing European manufacturing in recovery, but managers still very wary about investing or hiring in the future. Growth in Germany, but some contraction in that manufacturing sector in France. That's the picture on the markets. Now, Walmart has announced a membership scheme which it hopes will compete with Amazon Prime. Walmart Plus will be slightly cheaper than its online rivals offering and will give members same-day delivery on 160,000 items, as well as some discounts. Walmart's online sales jumped during the pandemic, but it still only has 6% of the US e-commerce market versus 38% for Amazon. The two companies are the world's biggest retailers by value. And we'll stay with Amazon for one final business story. America's Federal Aviation Administration has granted the online retailer approval to deliver packages by drone. Now, that doesn't mean deliveries can start immediately. Amazon says it's still testing its drones before the program is launched. Eventually, they will be able to deliver items of up to about 2.2 kilos in weight. The company is the third in the United States to secure such a drone license after UPS and one of affiliates of Google as well. Drone deliveries on the way, but not that soon in it.
I have to say, I did expect it at some point. You know, it was going to happen, wasn't it?
It sort of seems in that sort of futuristic vision of flying cars. Sure, why not some deliveries by drone as well?
You're probably in the wrong age group, but it's up there with the cartoon I used to watch called The Jetsons.
I love the Jetsons.
Well, then you remember. They were flying around all over the place. That's Stephen Carroll with Dave's Business. Thank you so much. And that's it for me. I'll be back, however, after a short break. In the meantime, do stay with us here on France 24.